Today we're speaking with Dr. Claire Nelson, founding president of the Institute of Caribbean Studies here in Washington, D.C. And we're talking about the Caribbean American Heritage Awards 2020, the 27th anniversary. Stay tuned, Carib Nation is up next. Hello and welcome to Carib Nation TV. My name is Abby Charles and it is a pleasure to be here today as we talk with Dr. Claire Nelson, futurist and founding president of the Institute of Caribbean Studies based here in Washington, D.C., the same as Carib Nation. We are looking forward to this conversation as we talk about the Caribbean American Heritage Awards, the 27th anniversary of the awards this year. Let's get into learning a little bit about what we have in store this year. Welcome, Dr. Nelson, to tonight's show.
Oh, welcome to myself. Welcome to you. I haven't seen you in a long time. It's been a challenge this year, getting to see all old friends. Normally by now we would have been hanging out at different festivals in June and different events. This year we're a lot indoors, so it's so good to see you. So as we say in South Africa, Sawubona, I see you.
And we wouldn't normally be meeting in this type of format, but of course, you know,
exactly.
It is a unique situation. Yes. So how about you give us some insight for the audience? What are the Caribbean American Heritage Awards? Like, where did this come out from? Why this year?
Well, this, as you said, is our 27th annual Caribbean American Heritage Awards. And we're so delighted that for at least, I think, the last 12 years, or maybe 15 years, Carib Nation TV has been our partner in supporting us on this journey of bringing in the incredible stories of Caribbean people who are doing so much across the world, but mostly focused on the USA, to a lesser extent, Canada and UK. And really the idea of the awards was born out of the idea that as immigrants, we have been contributing to the places where we reside, our adopted abodes. And yet, even after all these years, there's a conversation or a tone of a conversation that would seem to imply, well, you know, we have all these immigrants of color and they're here to kind of take up space and use our resources, and they're just there as lumps of clay doing nothing. And we wanted to kind of make the point that not only are we, yes, coming as low-end workers, and we are, you know, cleaning floors and wiping noses and taking care of people who are sick in the hospital, hence why we're dying during COVID at such great numbers, but we're also contributing at the very high ends of this country, right? And so we're talking about whether it be Shirley Chisholm from back in the day, the first Black woman to attempt to run for the president, to you know, Marcus Garvey's movement, the Harlem Renaissance, and all the people who were coming through Harlem in the Porters movement, the rights movement. And this is from 1918, 1970. So we've been coming for a long time. As a matter of fact, we've been coming from before that, the time of slavery. There's a story of an Antiguan slave in New York that is purported to have been behind the uprising in New York that burnt down half of Manhattan in the early part of the 19th century, 18 and a little bit. So I'm saying this to say, we are part of the fabric of the society, and yet we seem to always be othered. And so the Caribbean American Heritage Awards has strove over the years, or striven, whatever, striven sound like a nice music, right? Has striven or strove over the years to try, it is a better word, to bring to the fore stories of people who are giving back in any ways or giving to excellence, number one. We've honored inventors, musicians, journalists, politicians, literary giants, I mean, you name it, from let's see, Susan Taylor, who was everybody's known, Essence Magazine. We've honored Cicely Tyson, famous actress. We've honored Jimmy Cliff's music is well used in advertising in this country. We've honored film people like Don Lewis, who was very much seen on A Different World, which is a groundbreaking sitcom. We've honored inventors like Dr. Cater Lorenzin, a world-class orthopedic surgeon from St. Lucia, who has patents for bone surgery and is now some head honcho in a hospital in Hartford. I mean, so really we're talking about from scientists. So many people have honored have patents out the wazoo. So we're also creating wealth. So as we hear this narrative about making America great again, let's be frank, we've already contributed to making America great already. And so my favorite line now is make America smart again. And by that, I mean, let us really start talking about the future we want. And so this is one reason why, in spite of COVID and even my own thing that, maybe we should just not do it this year, right? When the email started to come in, are you going to have the Gala this year? Maybe you shouldn't have the Gala this year. You're probably tired, you need a break. You should have the Gala this year. We need to cheer us up. We need something to cheer us up. Please have the Gala this year. I need something to cheer me up, right? So I thought, you know what, let me err on the side of trying to cheer people up. Let me err on the side of giving hope. Because when we think about even the people who are making contributions to this field of healthcare, and over the years, we've honored many people in healthcare in this country. And this year, we actually have found somebody who's at the forefront of COVID research that is going to be honored. And I'm sure there are more if we knew about them. I know about two. It's two so far. We're honoring one of those two. I'm saying that to say, we are here. We are part of the American story. And the Caribbean American Heritage Awards helps to elevate the story in our voice. So we are the lion in our story. We will tell our story. And that's what this event is all about.
Awesome. So you're persisting, right? So you're sticking through it this year. 27 is a big anniversary to be celebrating. Why are you persisting beyond just bringing joy? What else do you get out of hosting the show?
You know, that's a good question, because I can tell you last year, and I went, last year we did a big thing. We went to the Museum of African American Smithsonian, Museum of
It was
African
phenomenal.
Culture. And I'm going to quite frank, it was a big financial loss, but that's okay. You know, sometimes you do things, even though you know it's gonna cost you and you pay out of pocket for something. But you know, at the end of the day, if our purpose of ICS is to be the cradle of what is still emerging, what is still being birthed, the Caribbean American voice, and we already have begun to create that space by leading the march for Caribbean American Heritage Month to be made. So now we have a cohort of people around the country that are doing things on their own. Some of them are our partners, some are not. But in fact, the month exists. And as I like to tell people, it's still not yet fully embedded in American consciousness. And that's one reason why we persist. Because for it to be embedded in American consciousness, it has to get to the point, for me anyway, where I see Google do a doodle, right? I see the Speaker of the House give us the same respect as other Americans are given when her office sends out a press release saying, hey, it's this and this and this day, or this month. And when we send an email, I don't get a response. So I'm like, hey, it's only the 4th year I'm sending this email. And so I said, well, obviously we're not really breaking through the consciousness as yet. Hopefully, if and when we have a vice president who is Caribbean American and half and half, right, we get a little bit more respect. But the fact is, and it's not we're trying to separate ourselves from quote unquote being Black or Asian or whatever, because Caribbean people are all races. We're largely Black, I know that. So before anybody starts jumping down my throat. However, if we are to have agency, right? If we are to have agency, we have to first of all show up. And we don't march. Now that we haven't been able to have a carnival all year, it's like we've just been made invisible. So I'm like, okay, we don't have no jerk festival this year anywhere around the country. So all the places where the politicals would have shown up, where we do things, the festivals, the steel band events, or the events, the carnivals, those spaces where we normally gather no longer exist. So we persist, particularly this year, because this year is about really the beginning of a pivot of where is we as a American family, where as we as a human species want to go. And it's very important for ICS and our partners that are part of our family of community leaders, etc., around the country, to continue to, I would say, walk together, struggle together, march forward together. And I see that flight of birds behind it. It brings to mind this idea that we're one flock, right? We're either going to soar together or we're going to fall together, right? We're a flock. And so this flock of community kindred, right? Those of us who feel ourselves, I like that when we have our meetings. We had a meeting actually, I must say, right after June on the concept of crabs in the barrel. Can we get past that? It was a closed event because I wanted to have the people who were close to us talk about it. Some people didn't want to talk about it. Let's not talk about that, right? But I don't feel we're past that yet. And so as someone who has committed my life's work to community building, I feel that much as part of me wants to quit and give up, to be quite honest, the rest of me that says, no, but you know, when you go to Jamaica and you see the people struggling and you hear stories about young girls being gone missing and human trafficking, and then you read the murder statistics all across the region, and then you see how many people are out of work because of lack of tourism, I don't have the luxury of giving up. I really don't. Because if I say that this organization is about trying to build a scaffolding on which we can now create a meshwork of interests, recognizing that we are not used to working in unity, but we still have to get together in harmony, then we have to build on what we started in June, which was a really robust series of events. We did 16 events, 8 hours, and we partnered with many organizations to pull that off. And it was beautiful for me because having those late night calls with the people in Boston and the people in Philadelphia and the people in Atlanta, that was, I mean, sometimes I just started to cry because I just saw us trying so hard to work together. Yes. And that for me was the beautiful thing. So I persist because of the beauty of the merging of seeing us making that extra effort. You know, you mash somebody corn, you lose your temper in a meeting, but you come back and you say, I didn't mean it. I'm sorry it came out that way. I mean, I was stressed out because it happened at home and I brought it to the meeting. And that we are now able, some of us, to forgive in that moment and move forward. Right. So this experiment is not just about, let's say, what you see outside on the event. It's what you see happening behind the screen, picking up the phone, calling new young people who are doing things. Hey, can you be a part of this? This year we have some fabulous things planned, and it's all, and I'm bringing in more people and more people and more people, because we're not constrained anymore, in a way, by the boundaries of physical space of a JW Marriott or of a Smithsonian Auditorium. We now are free to roam in a different way. And yes, we're going to miss sitting together and laughing together and drinking rum together. And we're still trying to figure out how to show up for pretty close together. But that's going to be part of what we'll talk about. But I just feel I persist because, and I think the team of us persists, me and my quote unquote, me and my posse, or the posse and me, whichever way around, persists because, as we said last night when tempers were a little bit frayed, and we always start with prayer and end with prayer, right? Is that in between, that's okay, we were free, we come back, and before we leave, we close the gaps and we move on. And so that's why we persist. For me, it's about a spiritual practice to become more of who I personally am supposed to become, in partnership with all of us in our little network of people that are trying to work out how do we create a better must come future as part of the human family.
Mm-hmm. And how do we all work together as a Caribbean people to bring face to the legacy that is Caribbean American life, and what we've contributed to this country. So it's such a great thing to hear how much you've given and how much you continue to give, because you feel like you haven't seen that legacy as full as you want it to be as yet. Such a noble cause to put on this show. But you know, you mentioned that there's this opportunity to break the boundaries because we're no longer limited by being physical and being in person. We're now virtual. Tell us, what does a virtual Caribbean American heritage look like? What does this experience, what do you have in store for us?
Well, my love, as cousin CARAH would have said, well, my love, it a gonna be something else again. Cousin Girlie say she hope people come in them pretty finery to be part of the what we call the flash by walk by segment, the pre-award show for we're having a virtual red carpet part. But what we're doing honestly is, first of all, we're beginning the day with our Invest Caribbean conference, which will focus on agribusiness. It's called Farm the Future. So hopefully people who are interested in reinvesting in their families, farms they left behind, noting that we need to deal with food security will participate. That's been going on. This particular conference is 22 years old, but the theme of agriculture is 8 years old. And we really want to really ramp it up this year. So we're going to be focusing a lot on also entrepreneurship. So we want people who are interested in import, export to show up. We want people interested in anything you can farm. So you can farm things for food, you can farm things for fiber, you can farm things for fuel, you can farm things for quote unquote pharmaceuticals. So whether it's seaweed for lotions or castor oil for beauty products, whatever, my fact is there's a lot of things that we can do. And I think now is the time. COVID has shown us that we can come together and create small micro investment partnerships. So Abby and her 5 friends can create a small micro investment partnership to do something with, say, something that interests you with your people you left behind in Trinidad, growing up, right? Women you don't even know, you're young people. So that is sort of where we're going with the conference, right? So we're talking about cooperatives and B Corps and impact investment. How do we do micro impact investment, right? Life seed. And so then we switch into the gala, and we begin the first hour of the gala will be the part that we are asking people to contribute and buy a ticket, like you would normally buy a ticket to come to that part of the gala. And that will be on the platform. So you're on the platform and you're participating in a reception, which will have, and they hope we're working to find a fashion show in that segment. We're talking to people who are musicians to perform in that segment. We're talking to people who are chefs to do something in that segment. As a matter of fact, before the event, we've already talked to a chef about preparing a meal, a menu. And the week before the event, the chef will do a Facebook Live for people who intend to be at the gala to learn how to cook that menu, right? And on the night of the event, the chef will be there to kind of talk about styling that plate, etc., etc. And also, if the people have actually cooked it, ask questions, but was it supposed to taste like this? Problems they had making it. So in the moment of that last night when you're actually finishing your meal to sit to watch, you're able to talk to the chef about it. So that's it. Let's say the pre-live stream segment, silent auction and an art show, because we are honoring a young Trinidadian artist, Andrea McKenzie, as one of our honorees. So we want her to do artwork as well in that segment. In the first live segment is from 7:30 to 8, and fingers crossed we'll be working with Nikki Mohan. Yay! Awesome. I'm so excited about that. Yeah. I'm very excited because she's a form honoree as well, and so we have reached out to her. She says she's delighted to be a part of it, so we're very excited about that. And she'll be the live host on the evening, from 8 to 9:30. Then almost, let's say 9:30, quarter to 10 will be the award segment. We have between 6 and 8 people will be honored. We haven't finalized the last 3, but we have 5 confirmed, and those confirmed honorees will be live. We've asked them to appear live. So we have the gentleman who is an EPA scientist who's working on COVID research, primary investigator for that. We have a Grenadian inventor who has 57 patents to his name in hardware. We are honoring the artist I told you about. We're honoring Frederick Morton from Temple. And so the event will be streamed on Temple, so I'm very excited about that. Live streamed on Temple. We also have Pure Jamaica as a live streaming partner. That means all the Jamaicans all over the world can get to watch. Why is this important? Because Buju is our musical honoree.
Oh, that's awesome.
So we really have it lined, and then we're now looking for 2 DJs that can be the DJ sound clash afterwards. Image Band will be, of course, performing at some points during the event. And so we're doing a mixture of live and taped back and forth because we're concerned about, supposedly we'll have a poor cut on the night, what we're going to do. So again, Carib Nation to the rescue. Caribbean to the rescue. We'll be the part of the production team, and we will still be doing a Caribbean Nation TV special on Boxing Day on 26th.
Awesome.
So we're still going to have time for the in-depth interviews, which are so much a part. People in the region say they really enjoy those in-depth interviews. And so we don't want to take it away, because people now especially need hope and to see what's possible. And we're kind of using this concept of stories of triumph and transformation for this year. We don't normally use a theme, but this year is such an unusual year. I was really looking for people who I felt had something when you interview them, we could get some of the, you know, the heft of what it takes to be successful when you're born to a family that has nothing, but you somehow triumph over. And, you know, we're trying to identify some other special guests who can participate, who have those stories, just to feature their work in some small way. Because now we have time, because we can say you don't have to stay the whole time. You can watch or not watch. But in that what we call official segment, obviously we want people to come online, network, and we're looking at platforms. We want to give out the secret yet which one, because we're like, oh, does this one do this? Is the one that, but we want one that allows you to network there on the platform, exchange number, if possible, naturally actually see your friends as well, while not taking away from what's happening on the main stage. And this is why we take some time to go through all the platforms. There's so many. I can tell you one thing, we're working very hard to ensure it's not on Zoom, okay? Right. So now we have things like Zoom, we use Zoom for everything else, but we need to just get people to be in a different space. And so the production, we're very excited about these partnerships, continue with Caribbean Nation and adding these other partners who can help us with the live streaming and making sure it goes out to the whole wide world. So we're very, 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 very excited. I have to tell you, every day I wake up and I say, okay, who should I be talking to today, Lord? Show me the way. And you know, somebody pops into my head and I call them and say, yeah, we're in, you know. And so I really see this more like a in-gathering, kind of a, everybody who wants to do something, we can find a space to put them in kind of thing. That's kind of what I'm saying. Because the platform will have an exhibit hall, so people who have a small business, I am thinking, quite frankly, because we can use the platform can remain up, we think, for at least 2 or 3 days after. So either if you have an exhibit booth, if you have become a sponsor, and then on the Saturday night, you can also, Saturday next day, we can also have an event, follow-up event where people can meet with people who saw the jewelry or the art and talk to people. So if you're a small business owner, you're a jewelry maker, Christmas is coming, yes, we don't have a lot to give, but we can still make stuff. And, you know, those of you who bake can be making cakes, so those of you who, you know, who make jewelry. As a matter of fact, we're trying to find a cake sponsor, quite frankly, for the gala. So for people who buy tickets, they can get a small taste of a cake will be mailed to them. So we're looking and talking to people now who are in that space who can get that done. So if you buy a ticket, you'll get something to have on that night that you'll have as you're in your swag bag. So anybody who wants to promote their stuff, want to be in a swag bag, please reach out to us.
Awesome. Sounds like a phenomenal event. Like, it's so well thought through. And it sounds like it's almost exactly like the layout for what it was like in person, except you're creating that and curating that in a virtual way. Because I remember last year you had some fashion people demonstrating their fashions. Then you went downstairs to this phenomenal reception. Then you had the show and the awards. And then afterwards, as always, you have your party where Claire is well known to be seen dancing. So it sounds like you found a way to recreate that virtually. And I'm so excited because I heard, you know, Andrea McKenzie is a friend of mine. So I'm really excited to see her receive an award as well. So this sounds like it's going to be such a...
Well, you know, I mean, as I said, I'm looking for some fashionistas. So if you want to get some of your ladies in Trinidad to put on some of your clothing and say, hey, you know, I know you plan to come down in January to hang out for a little bit to get out of the cold. Yes, things bad here, but things bad there too. So it's no difference. You might as well come and hang out here. At least you can go to the beach. You can't do much else, but you can go to the beach, you know. So, well, as I said, we really want to have that community feel. For me, this year, the joy is going to be how many of the people I've worked with in the past I can squeeze into the event in different ways. You know, the honorees, past honorees, if they're doing something new, they want to get a shout out. You know, how can we make people know about what they're doing? Because we've honored so many fantastic people.
Yeah, and there's no limitation. So people from Trinidad, people from Barbados, from
Yes.
Haiti, from Jamaica, they could all be a part of this event.
Yes.
Where can people get more information?
And the website, the link will be linked to the website, and information will be added on a daily basis, because this is going to be a very dynamic process. Because what we've been finding, that people have so much information coming at them that we think it's better to give them small bites. So again, we really want people to follow us on social media this year. I'm identifying young people are much more savvy than myself to be hopefully in charge of that. So I'm bringing young people. Where are you? Where can I age out of this thing here now? I'm looking like, who's going to be running this thing in 5 years? It should not be me anymore. I'm kind of getting old. So, how do we get I started this when I was 36. You see what I mean? So can you imagine, there was a lot of hype then. So we need the 36-year-olds now to come in and bring that energy in, because one of the things we have not been able to do well as a community is the intergenerational work, right? And I'm excited to say this is beginning to build. It's not quite there yet, but I'm beginning to see what I call seeds of hope that keep me going as I begin to deepen my relationship with some young people we've honored in the last couple of years. In June we do the under 30, and some of them I've kept in touch with, and we're trying to find ways to bring them into this event in whatever small way we can, just to keep our relationship building, so that all the capital we've built up in the brand, social capital, does not go away if I step down. There's someone that could keep it going to the next level, because as we see now, politics in the future going to be everything. So we can't lose the political capital that we've built up. We don't want to lose that. Somebody has to keep it going long after I've stepped away and gone to the moon. Because as you know, people who know me know I'm into space stuff these days. I'm a space cadet. I'm obsessed with going to the moon. I'm like, are you really going to the moon? I said, I don't know about that, but I like to say I'm going to the moon.
Such good information and such a rich show. Can you tell me, what is one thing that you are the most looking forward to for this year's show?
Lord, let there be no power cuts that night or hurricanes, because one person is in Florida, the other person is in Delaware. Let there be no hurricanes or storms passing through, because it's winter, so you never can tell. So we have to start thinking about plan B and plan C right now, in terms of who else would have the same material. As you know, many years ago, we also honored the Trinidadian who holds the key to the internet, one of the keys to the internet. So I need to come and say, okay, you are the internet guru here. Look into the future of the internet and tell me it's going to work.
Is it going to be working?
Hey, who would have thunk, right? Who would have thunk that a Caribbean person holds one of the 7 keys to the internet? Are we not everywhere? Are we not just
everywhere,
quote unquote, to die for? We are just like so awesome. And so I am so proud of being a Jamaican from the Caribbean in this particular era. And the work I've done on the research this year, especially when I did that epic quote unquote 45-minute long speech on Caribbean American history, and did all this research back in the time of slavery, I'm like, I didn't know this was happening back in then. So I'm just really fired up now about all that we have contributed to this country from the era of slavery all the way through. Because let me tell you, the people who are going to Columbia University today are doing so because slaves were traded with the Caribbean. People are doing to school in Boston are doing so because the wealthy shipbuilding companies that endowed those universities did slavery with the Caribbean. So let us not be embarrassed anymore about our quote unquote putting our foot in American soil and quote unquote, if you want to say, boxing bread out of people's mouths or whatever you want to say, because of the hegemony of America over this part of the world. We very much have the right to be part of the American narrative and to benefit from quote unquote the spoils of this land.
Awesome. That is a great way to wrap up this show. So we are excited for Caribbean American Heritage Awards coming up in November. Claire, give us that date again.
It's November the 20th, 2020. So 11/20/2020. Remember that day, there's a day of going to be plenty goodness, plenty. I don't have no more rhyme and rhythm to give to you, as I would say. We'll come again.
We're ready for November 20th, 2020. That date is going to stick in my head. Tickets will be released.
We'll come again, Sister Abby. We'll come again.
We'll come again. Tickets will be ready on 10/20/2020. And we are excited for the show this year and for this virtual opportunity to all engage and to recognize these phenomenal Caribbean Americans who are continuing to contribute to the legacy of us, who we are here. So thanks a lot, Claire. To our audience, thanks for listening in. And as always, we are one people, one culture, one Caribbean, one nation, Carib Nation.